friends, it is the end of May, which means it is time to talk about the books I read in May in no particular order. And as a disclaimer, it was all physical books. This was my first full month of not working, which means one, I had a lot of extra time, and two, I don't do a lot of things that require me to give me time to listen to audiobooks. I sit down and listen to audiobooks kind of gal, so I didn't. This will be in no particular order of completion. I think it's actually the exact opposite of the way that I read them, because that's the way that they're in my stack. And as an honorable mention, I have started reading Settled by Stephen King, which I wasn't sure I was going to get to. So I got through all of my original TBR and my revised TBR and started on this one. So this will be the first to come in the June wrap-up video. But without further ado, I read A Witch in Time by Constance Sayers, and I think I gave this one 4 stars. This is following a girl. So it's initially following Helen, and she is in the current time. It's like 2012, and she meets this guy on a blind date, and he's like, hey, like, you don't remember me, what the frick? And it turns out that she's been bound to him for hundreds of years, and she's got to figure out how to break the curse. And when I tell you that this was like heartbreaking and heartbreaking, I don't know, it was really good though, and good for her. I was concerned because it's kind of like a multiple point of view, right? Like, you've got the first rendition, which is Juliet, the next rendition, which is Nora, and then a third rendition of Sandra, and then Helen. So there's 4 points of view, but I think that Constance Ayers really did so good putting them all in there and not making it confusing, and the transitions were nice, and this was so good. I 10 out of 10 would recommend this. I read Christina Lauren's Something Wilder, and I think I gave this like a 3.5. Might be 4, I'm not really sure. I like Christina Lauren. I think it's really fast and really fun, and I thought this one did the wilderness so good. This is following Lily after her dad passes away, and she's running this ranch, and she runs into her old love. Something I do have to acknowledge though is that this is one of those, like, they fell in love in 2.5 seconds and then they were separated for a long time, but they're still just as in love 10 years later, and that doesn't feel realistic to me. People change. There's so much growth that can happen in 10 years, especially from being like 18 or 19 years old to being almost 30 years old, and, you know, parents dying and taking on extra responsibilities and getting jobs and all of those things. So that aspect of it wasn't like the most believable for me, but otherwise I thought it was a really, really good time. This month taught me a lot of things about myself, and one is it solidified that I am a Grady Hendrix stan. I read We Sold Our Souls by Grady Hendrix, and I gave it, I think I only gave it 3 stars. Now listen, I know I said stan and then only said 3 stars. Here's the thing, is that this one it kind of dragged for me. The other ones I've read by him are so like quick and fun, and, you know, and this one it was just dragging and dragging and dragging. The plot twist, didn't see it coming. Yeah, I don't have a lot to say about it. I just thought it kind of dragged. I really like Grady Hendrix's writing though, and I will definitely be picking up more Grady Hendrix books in the future. This one just didn't smack the way I wanted it to. Another thing that this month really solidified for me is that I'm really into the concept of magical circuses. I read The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, and this is following a duel. It's like a duel, but nobody got any details, and they're trained up from kids. I give this 4.5 stars, by the way. They're trained up from kids, and one of them will come out a victor and one of them will not, and in this case that means death, but they fall in love. Now, this probably would have gotten a whole entire 5 stars from me, except that I feel like the love aspect was lackluster. We didn't see each other for a while, and then the next time we saw each other we decided we were in love. And I mean, they'd seen each other over the course of years, right? From the time they were children, they met, they'd encountered each other, but they didn't know that they were like opponents, and like that's totally cool. But I feel like the actual love aspect was a little less than I wanted. I spent the entirety of this book pondering the next time I'm going to be able to read this book, though, so that's a good sign. And it was good. I really liked this. I like magical circuses. I will be reading all the magical circus books that I can in the future, because what a time. I don't remember if I've mentioned in a previous video, but I do have a goal to read through all of my backed book of the month, and then in May I didn't get a new May book of the month. I'm testing it out. I don't think I understand how the actual process works. But I had a couple months worth of book of the month books that I just had been like stacking up, so I made it a goal to read through them, and I got through 3 in the month of May, and that's pretty freaking rad. So first up on the docket was The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. I think this was last on the docket, but you know what I mean. And this was from February of 2023, and honestly, I didn't love it. I only gave it like 2.5 stars. I continued to read because I wanted to know who done it, but I thought it was an unreliable narrator and it was all going to be in her head, and or that she was like having a psychotic break, and I don't know what I expected, but this I don't think delivered for me. I didn't see the twist coming. I don't remember how it ended. It was kind of unmemorable for me, but other people really liked it. Also read Wayward by Amelia Hart, and this was my March 2023 book of the month. And this is another witchy one. I'm following a bunch of generations of women who have magical powers. That's it, and they each like come into it on their own. And Wayward Women. The little snippet in the beginning of this is that in Shakespearean text or something, Wayward is used in the first folio edition of Macbeth. In later versions, Wayward is replaced by Weird. So it's the Wayward Women. It's good. I liked it. I think I gave it 4 stars. Did I say that already? I don't have a lot to say about it. And finally, or firstly, the first book that I finished in May was Queen of Thieves by BZ Marsh, which was my January 2023 book of the month pick. And this is following a gang. 1946. It's following a gang, and a teenager falls in with them, and she ends up going to jail, and there's a love interest, and there's, you know, you're kind of like, oh, why is she such a bitch? And it all works out in the end. Happily ever after. It was a really quick read. I think I gave it 2 or 3 stars. I don't remember. Not that memorable, as you can see. By the time I get back up to the beginning of the month, I don't know what I'm talking about. So, and excuse my stuffy nose. I've got stupid allergies. But anyways, that is what I read this month. 2, 4, 6, 7 books in total for the month of May, and they were all physical books. I only set a goal of 5 for June. So 7 feels really, really good. And I am slowly but surely working my way through all of my physical books, which was my goal for this year, because we were, you know, not going to be buying them. So I figured I might as well read it what I've got on my shelf. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Feel free to like, subscribe, and all those other things that YouTubers say, and I will see you in the next one.